Dear students, good morning. Today, let me start with types of taxation. In any economy, any government, they need revenue to look after their responsibilities. So, government is collecting revenue through tax revenue or non-tax revenue. Today, our task is to learn something about types of taxation. Under this, direct and indirect taxes are the first one. Taxes have been classified into direct and indirect taxes on the nature of impact and incidence. Here, when a government levies tax, the immediate burden is called as the impact. Then the ultimate burden is called incidence. When there is shifting, the incidence impact and incidence will be in different persons. Okay, now what is meant by direct tax? A tax which is paid by a person on whom it is imposed is called direct tax. The burden of a direct tax cannot be shifted to others. The taxpayer is the tax bearer or burden bearer. So here, in case of direct taxes, the best example for direct tax is income tax. The tax burden is rest with the taxpayer. The taxpayer cannot shift the burden to second person or third person. So the tax impact and tax incident both will rest with the taxpayer. Dalton defines a direct tax is one which is really paid by a person on whom it is legally imposed. Okay, the next one is the indirect tax. If the burden of the tax can be shifted to others, it is an indirect tax. Here, the impact is with one person, that is, the tax impact is with one person, while the tax incidence is with another person in case of indirect taxes. Because in case of indirect taxes, the burden can be easily shifted. The shifting process also depends upon the elasticity of demand of the commodity. Sometimes the tax burden can be shifted forward. Sometimes it is the tax burden can be shifted backward. That is so there will be a forward shifting and backward shifting. Here we can say the taxpayer is not the tax bearer in case of indirect tax. For example, we can take the sales tax. Here, the sales tax is levied on the producer of a commodity, but he will shift the tax burden along with the prices of the commodity to the wholesale dealer. The wholesale dealer will shift the tax burden to the retailer. The retailer will shift the tax burden to the consumer. The ultimate tax burden rests with the consumer. So that is this is the process of forward shifting, we can say. Dr. Dalton says an indirect tax is imposed on one and paid partly or wholly by another person. Here, the partly or wholly that denotes 50% or 20% will be paid by a on whom the tax is levied. The rest of the tax will be paid by the consumer or retailer or wholesaler. So here, this percentage of tax burden is left with whom rest with whom depends upon the elasticity of demand of the commodity. If the commodity is inelastic in nature, the tax burden can be easily shifted to the consumer. If the demand for the commodity is elastic in nature, it will not be that much easy to shift the tax burden to the consumer. The entire burden have to be bared by the producer or seller. The difference between direct and indirect tax lies in shifting. A tax which cannot be shifted, a tax which cannot be you see, a tax which cannot be shifted is a direct tax, while the tax burden can be shifted is an indirect tax. Next, we'll go to the merits of direct taxation. Here, in case of 10 marks question, they'll ask you the direct merits and demerits of direct taxation. You see merits of direct taxation. First one is the equity. Direct taxes are based on the principle of ability to pay. They are progressive in nature. They fall heavily on the rich people. This is true. The rich people will have high ability to pay, their purchasing power will be high, so they are the direct taxes are progressive in nature, so they fall heavily on the rich. Therefore, equity is secured in direct taxes. A horizontal equity is secured by taxing similarly situated persons at the same rate. A vertical equity is maintained by discriminating among the taxpayers on the basis of their income. Okay, the next one is the certainty. Direct taxes satisfy the canon of certainty. Certainty denotes taxpayers are with certain how much amount they are going to pay. That is, here it says the amount of the tax, and the state can also easily estimate the revenue from direct taxes. You see, if a person is going to pay income tax, he knows how much income tax he is going to pay, so he is very certain about his payment. So this canon of certainty is fulfilled by in the case of income tax, that is a direct tax. The next one is the economy. Here the canon of economy is also a one of the merits, we can say. The canon of economy is satisfied by direct taxes. The cost of collecting the direct taxes very low because it is collected in lump sum. Tax evasion is also minimized as if it is collected at the source. Okay, the taxpayers pay the tax directly to the state. Therefore the economy is canon of economy is followed here. Professor Gladstone puts down that if you pay only direct taxes, you would have an economical government. This is the opinion of Professor Gladstone. The next advantage or merit of this direct taxes, elasticity. Direct taxes are elastic with the increase in income of the people. Income from direct taxes will also increase. This shows the elastic in nature. At the same time, the government can increase its revenue by increasing the rates of taxation. If there is inflation at the time of inflationary condition, government can increase its revenue by increasing the rates of taxation. At the time of depression, government can cut down its revenue by declining the rates of taxation. The next one is the civic consciousness. Since the taxpayers feel the burden of taxation, they will take keen interest in the method of public expenditure. They will keep a watch on the utilization of revenue, which acts as a check on the wastage of public expenditure. The next one is progressive. Most of the direct taxes are progressive in nature. Heavy taxes are levied on the rich, and poor are exempted from taxation. Hence, direct taxes are an important tool for reducing the inequalities in income and wealth. The next one is anti-inflationary. Direct taxes serve as an instrument of anti-inflationary fiscal policy. It maintains price level at a stable level. During inflation, direct taxes may be used to mobilize the excessive purchasing power in the hands of the people. These are all some of the merits of direct taxes, we can say. Next, we'll go to demerits of direct taxes. Here, when demerits shows that when government levies income tax or motor vehicle tax or corporate income tax or agriculture income tax, it will have a pinching effect. Okay, so the direct taxes are painful. The impact will be heavy. Tax impact will be heavy. That is why we are saying here that as pinching effect. The direct taxes are painful to the taxpayers as they cannot shift the tax burden to others. Further, direct taxes pinch the taxpayers more as they have to be paid in lump sum. Hence, direct taxes are opposed by many of the taxpayers. The next inconvenient or next demerit is inconvenient. Direct taxes do not satisfy the canon of convenience. Income tax returns have to be filed in time with the source of income. Complete records have to be maintained by each and every individual of the taxpayer. It is also inconvenient as these taxes are connected. Then the rules and regulations and the income tax calculations methods are also somewhat complicated to the taxpayer. So it seems to be inconvenient. The next one is the evasion and corruption. There is great scope for taxes as assessment of direct tax depends on voluntary declaration of the taxpayer about his income. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to find out one's income. Under direct taxation, honesty is taxed and dishonesty is rewarded. Tax evasion leads to corruption also. This we can easily say. Many of the big industrialists or many of the government employees, they will work very honestly, but they are the proper taxpayers. That is why many economists used to say that in case of income taxes, especially in case of direct taxation, particularly income taxes, the honesty is taxed, okay, and dishonesty is rewarded. The next one is uneconomical. Direct taxes are uneconomical because cost of collection is costly and every individual has to be contacted personally to prevent tax evasion. Sometimes the income tax officers, they will go for income tax rights to big industrialists or cine actors like that. They will meet, or they have to meet them personally to prevent the tax evasion. Narrow based direct taxes do not touch large section of the people, and therefore they fail to promote civic sense among the citizens. The net of the direct taxes narrow. It will not cover the entire section of the society. Then arbitrary, the nature and base of direct taxes are arbitrary, decided by the exchequer. There is no scientific formula for evolving progression in direct taxes. That is the fixation of tax rates like 10%, 15%, 20%, or arbitrary in nature. There is no scientific formula, so we can say. The next one is the disincentiveness of the direct taxes are excessive. They may discourage savings and kill the incentive to work hard. Many people, they will think, why we have to work hard, whether we have to pay the income tax. So this type of disincentiveness, psychological disincentiveness will happen to the taxpayers. So that is also one of the demerits. Then exemption of low income group. Direct taxes exempt the low income group from taxation on the basis of ability to pay or equity. Though seems to be good, but the coverage of income tax is narrow. That is why we can say the drawbacks of direct taxes are due to administrative difficulties and inefficiencies. Therefore, Professor Bastable rightly concludes that taking the defects and merits together, direct taxation ought to be a part of every financial system. A rich country has greater scope for direct taxation than a poor country, because a rich country will have more number of rich people than a poor country. So many of the rich countries, they will go for direct taxation. They depends more on direct taxation. Next, we will go to the indirect taxes. uh, Already we have seen the meaning of indirect taxes. In case of indirect taxes, the tax burden is ultimately rest with the consumers. We can say indirect taxes are nothing but taxes on commodities. Here, sales tax is the best example for indirect tax. GST also we can say. First, let us start with the merits of indirect taxes. First one is inconvenient. Indirect taxes are more convenient to pay as they are included in the price of the commodity. The taxpayers do not feel the burden directly. The next one is elastic. It is possible to increase the revenue of the government by imposing taxes on commodities which have inelastic demand, especially the essential goods, essential commodities. But the principles of elasticity and the ability to pay are contradictory to each other, because many economists says that taxes must be paid based on their ability to pay. But here we are going to, as per this elasticity, we are going to levy more on the goods of inelastic demand. Those goods are mostly of necessary goods. They are a huge number of necessary goods are used by the poor people because the size of the family is big. Then so that is why we says that the elasticity and ability to pay are contradictory to each other. If taxes are imposed on articles of common consumption, it will affect the poor. On the other hand, luxuries cannot be taxed at a high rate as the demand is elastic. Okay, the next one is the no evasion. Indirect taxes cannot be evaded as they are merged with the prices. Only by refraining from consumption, indirect taxes can be avoided. However, by maintaining false accounts and through smuggling, and some of the indirect taxes can be easily evaded. So we can talk a lot about this. Indirect taxes is merged with the prices, so it is difficult to evade, but there are many chances and choices to evade the taxes. If the consumers are helpful to the sellers, they can easily evade the tax. Okay, the next one is the progressive. Indirect taxes are progressive in effect on luxuries because they fall on rich people, we can say, because luxurious commodities are mostly purchased by the rich people. The next one is a wide coverage. Indirect taxes have broad scope. Direct taxes fall on rich people and poor people are exempted from it. But indirect taxes cover low income group also. Hence, the tax system can be made broad based by including indirect taxes. Next, we will go then less pinching effect. Sixth advantage, we can say, indirect taxes are hidden and the burden is not felt by the people. We can say the burden is not felt by the taxpayer as they are included in the price. Therefore, it does not result in any opposition from the public. So it will be having less pinching effect. It will not be like direct taxes. Okay. The next one is social value. Indirect taxes can discourage consumption of injurious commodities like tobacco, intoxicants, and other alcoholic commodities. This will improve the social, moral, and public health. Uh, this we can bring as these points are comes under the merits of indirect taxes. Now we'll go to demerits of indirect taxes. Demerits of indirect taxes. The first one is the inequitable. Indirect taxes fall more heavily on the poor, therefore, they are unjust and inequitable. Since indirect taxes are levied on commodities of common consumption, especially the essential goods, it affects the poor. They are not based on the principle of ability to pay. We can say the indirect taxes are not based on the principle of ability to pay, so it is a first demerit. The next one is the less productive. Indirect taxes do not satisfy the canons of economy and productivity. As taxes have to be collected from large number of people, cost of collection is very heavy. Therefore, it is uneconomical. Further, an indirect tax is not as productive as direct tax. The next one is uncertainty. Indirect taxes are uncertain in nature. It is difficult to estimate the revenue from indirect taxes as the elasticity of demand differs from one commodity to another. Okay, the next point is no civic consciousness. Indirect taxes do not promote any civic sense because they are collected in small amounts, as if though middle through middlemen like traders. Probably then the indirect taxes are also with the price. It is merged with the price. The taxpayers will not know the burden, so the taxpayers' civic consciousness will be less. Discourage savings. Indirect taxes result in a rise in price. The people have to spend more on the goods, so it may reduces the saving. Then inflationary potentiality. As indirect taxes lead to a rise in price, they prove to be inflationary. So next we'll go. These are all the merits and demerits of direct and indirect taxes. Next we'll go to progressive, proportional, regressive, and digressive taxes. Based on the rates of taxation, these types are given in the types of taxation or comes okay, you see, net income is the best measure of ability to pay taxes, but the problem is that of fixing rates of taxes. The rates of taxation may be progressive, proportional, regressive, and digressive. In progressive taxation, the larger the person's income, the higher the percentage of tax that he pays as tax. If some percentage of tax is levied on all income, it is proportional. Sorry, if same percentage of tax is levied on all income, it is proportional. When lower percentage of taxes levied on larger incomes, it is regressive. When taxes are mildly progressive to some extent, then after that it remains constant. Proportional, it is a digressive tax. Okay, let us see this progressive, proportional, regressive, and digressive taxes with the help of the diagrams. Okay, first let me start with progressive tax. A progressive tax is one in which the percentage of tax increases with the increase in income. Here, let me start this progressive tax rates with the help of a table. You see, the income is the tax base, and tax rates are given 5%, 10%, 15%, and 20%. The amount of tax in rupees given in rupees. So, let us see. Suppose if a person's income is rupees 1000, for him the tax rate is 5%, so he has to pay rupees 50 as tax. If a person's income increases to 2000, as per the progressive rates of taxation, the tax rate is also increases. As income increases, the tax rate will also increase. Based on that, the tax rate will increases to 10%. Then he has to pay 10% of 2000 is 200. The next one is if income increases to 3000, the tax rate will also increases to 15%. Then 15% of 3000 is 450. Then next is 20% of 4000 is 800. Here you see the tax amount. You see the difference of the tax amount. Here it is 200 minus 50, 150. Here 450 minus 200, 250. Here 800. This is how the amount of tax they are going to pay is progressive in nature. Amount of tax they are going to pay is progressive in nature as their income increases. That is why it is called progressive taxation. It is simply explained this with the help of a simple diagram. You see, this is a y-axis measures the tax rate and x-axis measures the income, that is a tax base. Here if we plot the amount and rates in this x and y axis given in the table, will get a upward sloping line. So this we can say a progressive tax. Okay, the next one is, we'll go to the proportional rate of taxation. Proportional rate of taxation in which the rates of tax remains constant with a change in income. Okay, sorry, here change in income. As the income changes or as the income increases, but the tax rate remains constant. You see, the income increases from 1000, 2000, 3000, and 4000, but the tax rate remains 5%, 5%, 5%, 5%. So tax rate remains constant, but the amount you see 50, 100, 150, 200. So this is even though the income increases according to their income, they are proportionally they are paying the tax. The tax amount is also increasing proportionally. So it is increasing 50, 50, 50, like that. The tax amount is increasing. This is the proportional rate of taxation. Next we'll go to the you see that is given in a simple diagram. If you plot the tax rate here 10% or 5%, here the tax amount, that is not tax amount, the that is the income of the taxpayer. So we'll get a horizontal line because everything is in a 10%. So for 1000, 10%, for 2000 also 10%, 3000 also 10%, 4000 also 10%. So it is a proportional rate of taxation. Next one is a regressive rate. This shows that as the income increases, okay, as the income increases, the tax rate will decrease. Okay, that is so the here the regressive, for regressive tax, the line will be a downward sloping line. As you see the diagram, you will see the table. You see, as the income increases from 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000, the tax rate declines 10, 7, 5, 4. Here the amount of tax is also, though the amount of tax increases 140, 150, 160, but tax rate is more important, that is declines. Okay, so that is given in this downward sloping line. Next we'll go to the regressive taxes. Under this tax system, the tax is mildly progressive to some extent, that is up to a certain limit. After that, the tax may be charged at a flat rate. Okay, you see this diagram, you see, for to some extent it will be increasing one. Then after that, that is, we can say, to some extent the tax rate will be progressive. After that, proportional. After that, proportional, that we called as digressive taxes. Okay, so that is given in a diagram table. You see, the 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000 is the tax base. Tax rate 10, 11, 12, 13. Hereafter it will be 13 itself. Okay, if it is a 5000, the tax rate will be 13. 6000, the tax rate will be 13. So it shows that to some extent it is progressive. You see, 10, 11, 12, 13, it is progressive. The after that it will remains constant, that is proportional. So the combination of progressive and proportional tax rate is called as the regressive tax rates. Okay, so today let us finish this types of taxation up to this. Tomorrow we'll start with the merits and demerits, or the advantages and disadvantage of progressive and proportional taxes. Then we have to see about the simple and multiple taxation. Okay, thank you.